The biosecurity checkpoint at Station Vex 7 had processed over 10,000 species in its 3-century operation. Arwen Oliver was the first to break its algorithms. Commander Thrixonal of the Galactic Confederation watched his mandibles click nervously as the scanner completed its 3rd cycle. The human stood patiently behind the containment field, arms crossed, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. She'd been through this before, clearly. "This cannot be accurate," Thrixonal muttered, his translator struggling with his agitation. "Run it again." The technician, a multi-limbed Quellan, manipulated the controls with 4 hands simultaneously. "Commander, I've run 17 scans. The results are consistent." Thrixonal stared at the holographic display floating before. Him species classification Homo sapiens human. Genetic profile decoded 1.2%. Unknown sequences. 98.8% threat assessment. Calculating. Error. Explain this, Thrixonal demanded, gesturing toward Arwen. The containment field shimmered as he spoke. Arwen Oliver stepped forward, her boots making soft sounds on the deck plating. She was unremarkable by human standards. Average height, brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, wearing the standard gray jumpsuit of merchant crew. But her eyes held something the commander had learned to recognize in his centuries of service, the confidence of a predator. "It's quite simple, Commander," Arwen said, her voice carrying the peculiar melody of Earth Common. "Your scanner is working perfectly. It's reading exactly what's there. Impossible. Every species in the known galaxy has been fully sequenced. The Confederation has genetic records dating back 400,000 cycles. Even the precursors left enough material for complete analysis." "That's your first mistake," Arwen replied, examining her fingernails casually, assuming Earth falls into predictable patterns. The Quellan technician manipulated the display, zooming into specific genetic markers. "Commander, what we can read is disturbing. This human carries genetic memory from over 15 extinct species. Retroviral insertions that predate her evolutionary tree, sequences that appear to be engineered but existed before any species achieved spaceflight." Thrixonal felt his secondary hearts accelerate. "You're saying humans are artificially created?" Arwen laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the sterile chamber. "No, Commander. We're naturally evolved. That's what makes it terrifying." She moved closer to the field, and despite himself, Thrixonal stepped back. "Earth didn't coddle its children," she continued. "Every species you've scanned came from stable worlds. Predictable environments. They evolved in ecological niches where success meant specialization. And Earth?" the commander asked, though he wasn't certain he wanted the answer. "Earth tried to kill us every single day for 3 million years." Arwen began pacing, her movements fluid and precise. "Ice ages that lasted millennia, supervolcanoes that blocked out the sun, asteroid impacts, mega predators that made us prey, diseases that should have wiped us out 1,000 times over. And we survived not by specializing, but by refusing to." The Quellan's eye stalks twisted in confusion. "That makes no sense. Specialization is the key to evolutionary success." "For most species, yes," Arwen agreed. "But humans are the genetic equivalent of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. We incorporated viral DNA into our genome and used it to build better placentas. We bred with 3 other human species and took their cold weather adaptations. We evolved the ability to digest poisons and call them cuisine. We retained genetic switches for traits we don't even use anymore, just in case we need them later." She pointed at the scanner display. "That 99% your machine can't read? That's not junk data. That's our species' memory of every apocalypse we survived, every adaptation we made, every desperate evolutionary gamble that somehow paid off. It's compressed, encrypted in ways that shouldn't be biological, because we evolved not on a world but in a crucible." Thrixonal studied the human with new appreciation and greater fear. "The 1% you can read is the part that's compatible with the rest of the galaxy," Arwen finished. "The part that lets us breathe oxygen, process similar nutrients, communicate with other sentient species. It's the baseline mammalian operating system." She leaned forward, and her smile was no longer pleasant. "The other 99%, that's the part that let humanity climb to the top of the food chain on a death world. That's the part that gave us the pattern recognition to turn sticks into spears, lightning into electricity, atoms into energy. That's the part that made us survivors." The commander's claws clicked against his command tablet. Are you threatening this station? No, Arwen said simply. I'm explaining why I'm not a threat, as long as you don't make me one. See that 99% you can't read? It includes something else, the genetic memory of cooperation. Humans conquered Earth not as individuals, but as tribes. Nations, eventually as a species. We learned that surviving meant working together. She gestured to the docking bay visible through the viewport. My ship is carrying medical supplies to the colony on Threshold 4. Vaccines, specifically, engineered from human genetic material that your species can't produce naturally. Because that 99% unknown, sometimes it makes us uniquely suited to help. Thrixnell was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he signaled the technician. Clear her for passage. As the containment field dropped, Arwen walked toward the exit. She paused at the threshold and looked back. Commander, a word of advice. When your scanners show mostly unknown data on a species, there are two possibilities. Either your technology is failing. She smiled that predator's smile again. Or you're looking at something that evolved beyond your parameters of understanding. With humans, it's always the latter. And the 1%? Thrixnell asked quietly. Arwen Oliver's eyes gleamed. That's the part that learned mercy, Commander. That's the part that chose civilization over conquest. That's the part that made us stop being merely survivors and become something more. She tilted her head. It's the thin veneer of civilization over 3 million years of refined survival instinct. And if that 1% fails, then you'd better hope, Arwen said, her voice soft as a whisper and cold as vacuum. You never find out what the other 99% is capable of. She walked away, leaving the commander staring at the genetic scan that couldn't quite capture what humanity truly was. And perhaps, he thought with a shudder, that was for the best. Some unknowns were better left unmeasured.